Happy day, my little kindergartners and first graders and even second graders and up. Today I'm going to talk to you about abstract art, and we're going to be creating our own abstract giraffe after we learn a little bit about what abstract art is. So I'm going to talk to you about the things you're going to need for today, and then we'll go ahead and talk about abstract art. So to create our artwork today, we're going to need a piece of white paper. You can use printer paper, you can use a piece of paper from your sketchbook, and if you have a piece of construction paper, this is just a fun way to put your giraffe on when you're done. You do not have to have this, but if you do, that's just a nice addition to what we're making today. You're also going to need crayons. And if you have watercolors, I want you to get those out. If you don't have watercolors, I want you to go ahead and get your markers. And I want you to get a piece of tin foil. And I'm going to show you how to make paint with your markers and tin foil. And you're going to need a little cup of water and a brush. Okay? So once you have all those things together, then you can pause and go get them. And then come back to me and we're going to go ahead and learn about a little bit about abstract art. Okay, so abstract art. At the beginning of the school year, we all learned about Mr. Kandinsky. Remember, Wassily Kandinsky is the artist who painted with music. He loved music, and when he painted something that made, when you looked at it, it made you feel a certain way. And we talked a lot about Mr. Kandinsky's artwork, and we made our own Mr. Kandinsky artwork. In kindergarten, we made concentric circles. And in first grade, we used shapes and lines with pieces of construction paper to make our own stained glass piece of art by Mr. Kandinsky. Second graders, you made flowers that were concentric circles. So we did a lot of Mr. Kandinsky artwork at the beginning of the year, but I want to talk to you. He was what they call the father of abstract art. And I want you to look at the things I have on my paper here. These are three things that make up abstract art. Lines. So here you can see I have a straight line and a zigzag line. I can even go farther and I can add another kind of line. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and add a wavy line. All right? These are all different types of lines that can make up the art we call abstract art. I could make a dashed line. Okay? Those would all be ways that would make up abstract art. Another way that makes up abstract art are circles. Shapes. So we have a circle, a triangle, and a square, but we can add more to that. We could add a rectangle if we wanted to. We could add a hexagon. So there's all different types of shapes that we can add to make up abstract art. One of the other things about abstract art that's kind of interesting is that you can make your abstract art closed with your shape, or you could have a shape that has an open circle. So that would still be a shape. Now it's a ring versus it being a full circle, but it's still a shape. So you can see that down here, I've added shapes to my piece. I have a square and a triangle and the ring right here. So those would be some more shapes that I would add. The last thing that makes up abstract art are colors. And you can tell that I have lots of different colors. So Mr. Kandinsky, he liked to make concentric circles like this, one and on top of another, on top of another. And remember, he used paint. We did it with oil pastels, and we did it with crayons, and you can do it with marker or paint. In this one right here, I've added shapes and lines with different colors to make up another piece of art that Mr. Kandinsky might create. And then you can see I went and put some black lines in it on top of it. Now, one of the things that is important about abstract art is that when you look at it, it makes you feel something. So maybe if it uses dark colors, it makes you feel sad or angry, or a word we call melancholy, sort of like we're just reflecting on things. Or we might have something that has bright colors. And in that picture, we would feel happy and excited. And if you remember the book, The Noisy Paint Box, that we read about Mr. Kandinsky, he listened to the music and it made him feel certain things. So loud sounds made him feel yellow. he would go through the streets in Moscow, and he would feel these different emotions when he heard sounds, and that was how, and he pictured it in colors, and that's how he painted. So today we're going to make a giraffe, and in our giraffe we're going to add lines and shapes and colors to make him an abstract giraffe. All right, are you ready? Let's get started. So what you're going to need right now is a piece of white paper, and you're going to need either a black crayon or a permanent, excuse me, a permanent marker. I don't want you to use this kind of a marker because we're going to be watercoloring, and if we put water on our marker, it's going to turn it into watercolor. So what I want you to use is a permanent marker or a black crayon from your crayon box. Now remember, if it's broken, it still works, so you can still do that black crayon even if it is broken. Okay, so I'm going to put those over to the side. I'm going to use a Sharpie because it's easier for you to see me when I do that. Let's pull out our giraffe really quickly. And let's look at him. When I make my giraffe, I'm going to use shapes to make him. So I'm going to start by making his mouth, and then I'm going to make his head. And if you notice, this is an oval. It's a circle that's been squished. It's actually called an ellipse, but it's been squished. Then I'm going to add a big U on top to make the top of his head. I'm going to add these little mushrooms and these little earpieces, and then we'll make his neck. Okay, it's pretty simple. So when I use my paper, I want to take up as much space on my paper as I can. And because I know his mouth is the widest part of his, I'm going to make his mouth wide. Now, I want to make sure he has a neck, so I don't want to do his mouth way down here or way up here so I can put his head on. I want to look in the middle or just below the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my paper to make it easier for me to draw. And I'm going to make a big ellipse on my paper. Okay? All right, so you go ahead and you draw that big ellipse on your paper. All right, after I've drawn that piece on my paper, I'm going to make a U for the top of my giraffe's head. You can see it's an upside down U or a nice rainbow. Okay, I want to make it tall enough I can put his face inside, but not all the way to the top because I still need to put his little nubs. I don't know if these are called horns or not. I'll have to look that up. And his ears. All right, on top of once my giraffe's face is done, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to make two little lines on this side. I'm going to make an ellipse on top of it, but I'm not going to close it, so it's not going to go all the way across. Okay? Two little lines on this side. Make that ellipse, but I'm not going to go across. All right? It kind of looks like a hippo right now. Well, hopefully I'll fix that. All right, now I'm going to make his ear. One. So I made a little bit of a curve to it. Two. There's one ear. Over on the other side. I'm going on the outside of his little horns. Two. Now he has two little ears. Okay, let's give him some eyes. Remember, boys and girls, if I'm going too fast for you, you're going to at any time just pause the video, okay? All right, so here, look at that. I just made an oval, and I'm going to color it in. If I have my crayon, I'm just going to press really hard and make it nice and dark. I'm going to go over to this side. Do the same thing. Color it in. Now he has two cute eyes. Now we're going to add, oops, those are not the same, so let's make them a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and add, in a few minutes, some crayon, and it's going to act just like oil pastel and watercolor don't like each other. Crayon and watercolor aren't really good friends. So I'm going to add some white to it, and it's going to make it look like it has that ring around his eye. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to go to the bottom of my paper now. I'm going to go ahead and give my giraffe a nice neck. And I'm going to give him little nostrils right here. Okay, my giraffe is almost done. I just need to add some spots. So I'm going to go to his neck and just make a wiggly line. Make two on each side. You could even make one right in the middle if you wanted to. All right, and I'm going to leave my giraffe just like that. I'm going to put my lid back on my Sharpie and put it away, or I'll take my black crayon and set it to the side. Okay, now I want to get my crayons out. So get your crayons. If you have a box, this one has 24, so I have a lot of colors to choose from. And I'm going to just have them peek out. Now remember, I have lots of broken crayons in here, and they work just as well when they're broken as when they're working. So I'm going to get those out just so you can see my different colors. Now, if we go back to what we were talking about with abstract art, we're going to add these pieces to it. So I'm going to add color. So I know I'm going to do that. I want to add shapes and lines next. So let's go ahead. Let's start with our white crayon. Now this is the trickiest part because it's hard to see. But I want to take my white crayon and I want to make circles around his eye and a circle around his eye. Now I know it looks like I'm not doing anything, but I'm going to show you in a minute. You can see it. I'm going to trace around his head. I'm going to go around his ear, and I'm pressing pretty hard. I think I just heard my crayon break too. So I'm going to show you something. If I turn my paper on its side, can you see that white line? Look really carefully. Do you see that white line I drew? If you look really carefully, the light will shine on it. So in your house, when you're looking at yours, if you turn it in the light, you'll be able to see the little white lines that you drew. Okay? I'm going to go down here and go around his nostril. I'm going to go around his mouth. So I'm sort of tracing those black lines I drew. And what will happen is, when we paint it, it'll look like this. You'll see these white lines on here. All right? So you can tell I kind of went big around that one. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go down here now and trace around his spots. Okay? So now I've done that with my white crayon. I'm going to put my white crayon away. And you can go around, and maybe I'll go here too. You can go around and check it. Remember how I told you, just turn it to the side, and you'll be able to see where your white crayon was and where it wasn't. And then you can put your white crayon away. And now I just want you to start picking out colors that you really, really like. So I'm going to start with yellow because I love how bright yellow is. And I'm going to take yellow, and I'm going to look at my list, my chart here, and I'm going to look for lines and shapes. I want to put lines and shapes in my giraffe. So maybe I'll go up to this ear, and I'll put some straight lines. And maybe I'll go over here and put some triangles. Like, oh, maybe these are pretend freckles, right? Because I'm putting some shapes. There's a triangle on him, some lines and some triangle. And maybe I'll come down here and I'll put some dots or circles inside his spot. Now I'm pressing hard because I want to color that all the way in, because when I do my watercolor, I don't want it to touch. Now I'm going to go ahead and pick out some orange, and I'm going to go up to this little horn nub thing. It's got a name for it, I'm sure. I just need to figure it out. And I put, I put lines and they crossed each other. So that would be a neat way to do lines. Maybe over here I'm going to give him zigzags on the side of his cheeks. Oh, maybe I'll put some dots. So I'm creating an abstract giraffe by just adding different colors from my crayon. Let's try this magenta. What is this called? Red violet. So I'm going to use red violet now. And I'm going to go ahead and put some more lines in my giraffe. So maybe up here I'll put some wavy lines. Maybe around his eye, I'll do something kind of, let's see, what could I do around his eye? A shape. Let's do a shape. I think I'll do rectangles. So those are squares that are longer. I'm just making them small. All right? And I'm going to go down to his other spot, and I think I'll just do some more lines. All right? So you're going to go through and you're just going to keep adding pieces to your giraffe until you feel like, yeah, that looks good. I think the last color I'm going to use is going to be a green. So I'm going to, my green is broken. Oh, no, not that one. I have another green that's broken. So I'm going to go over here with my green crayon. Let's see, the lines that I used. I kind of used squiggles and a straight line and a dash, and I've used some different shapes. So maybe over here I'm going to put some rings. So they almost look like circles, but they're not filled in all the way. Okay, I think I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and leave my little giraffe. Put some lines down here. And he has some different decorations on him. And now I want to go ahead and get my paints. Okay, so if you have watercolor paint, that's the easiest way to do this. But if you don't worry. I'm going to show you how to make it. So, using tin foil, all right, I reuse this piece over and over. I just wipe it off with an old towel, and I use that over and over again. I'm going to put my crayon away. Looks funny under the camera, doesn't it? All right. So I'm going to take my tin foil, and I would, if yellow is the first color I wanted to use, I would just take it. I'm going to move it a little bit out of the way so it's not so. And I would color on here. See how I'm doing that? Just doing a splot of color. And I would take my paintbrush and I would get a little bit of water on it. Actually, I get a lot of water on it. And I'm going to mix it up. And it's going to make paint. And I'm going to use that to start painting my giraffe. Okay? So I would just go ahead and start painting. Now, when I paint my giraffe, the fun part about this, and this is, you would just keep doing this with all your colors, but I'm going to use watercolor because I have it. So if you have a watercolor palette like this is the easiest way to do this. Okay. And that's how I'm going to show you, but you now know how to do it with the other paints. So moms and dads can help get some markers on some tin foil and go ahead and start doing that. All right, if you notice on mine, my colors all mix together. And the way that I do that is I put water on my paper first. This is called wet on wet. I put water on my paper first, then I get the color I'm interested in, and then I put it on top of it. And I use lots and lots of water. Because what happens is the more water we put on this, the more exciting our picture becomes when our paint gets on there and mixes together. So I like to be what I call generous with my paint. Watch, see now, do you see how when I painted around his eye, it didn't stick? Because that's where the white is. I'm going to pull that up even closer. Do you see that? It's like magic. It's one of my favorites. Now here's the fun part. I'm going to put lots of colors on mine. I want to do one thing. I might have to change my water. So if I'm using warm colors and I switch to cool colors, my friends in kindergarten and first grade should know what warm and cool colors are now. Warm colors are like colors of the fire, red and yellow and orange, the colors I have here. But if I decide to start switching to another color, my water is going to get dirty. And I might find that I need, do you see I'm pushing that? Look how it's not sticking, because it doesn't like that. I might find that I have to change my water out because it might get a little bit dirty mixing those colors together. Look how fun it is when you paint and it doesn't stick. It's one of my favorite parts. All right, now I'm going to put some purple on here, and it's going to go next to that orange, and they're not really friendly with each other, so we'll see what kind of colors I get when that happens. It's going to turn a little bit more brown looking. Do you see how much water I'm using? So, boys and girls, you're just going to go through and you're going to just paint your whole giraffe. Watch, see how I paint it with water first? Then I put my color on top. Ooh, how fun is that one? I love this. I love the magic of it. So you're going to go ahead and paint your abstract giraffe. You want to go ahead and put all the colors on it that you love and colors that you think your giraffe would like to wear. And then we're going to put it to the side. So I'm just going to keep painting. You paint along with me. I hope that you've been doing lots of art while you've been gone. I know sometimes it's hard because we're at home and we don't have all of the same supplies that we would have in the art room. But I hope that you're able to create a little bit. Get some fun artwork hanging on your refrigerator. Maybe decorating your workspace that you're doing your homework at. That would be really neat. Make sure that if you do art, you have moms and dads share it with me. They can send it to Miss Fortessa or Miss Allen, or they can send it to Mrs. Emerson or Mrs. Visick, and they'll send the pictures to me. Or you can send them just to me at my email account too. Have your mom or dad take a picture and send it to me. We can post it on our Instagram and everybody can see your beautiful artwork. So you can see now I'm just painting this guy. If I'm painting and all of a sudden I say, oh, I really want to add some more, I can go get my crayons back out. If I haven't painted it yet, I could go add some more lines to him. All right, and then I could go ahead, because you can stop, and then you can go add a little bit more paint if you want to. Let's see, what colors should we add? This is a really pretty orange. I like this dark orange down here. Put a little yellow on there with it. It's kind of a little bit more traditional giraffe color, huh? But that blue up there looks pretty good. Now see what happens when my purple and my yellow get together? They kind of make a little mess. If I have something like that on my paper, I can just take a paper towel, or I'm going to use an old rag. This is my paint rag, and I can just soak it up like that. Sometimes when we don't like the color we've used, we can use that and it will soak it up for us, okay? There. Oh, he's very cute. I really like him. Come down here. And purple spot. Maybe a little bit more green on him. Green and yellow are friends, so we'll put those. That's a very yellowy green, isn't it? Put a little bit darker green on top of that one. Okay, so now that I have him all painted, I'm going to put him to the side, and then when he dries, I can cut him out, and I can glue him onto a sheet of construction paper. So I could cut around the edges. If you look when I cut him out, I left a little bit of white around his edges. Now, boys and girls, if you don't want to cut it out and you want a grown-up or an older brother or sister to cut it out for you, you can ask them nicely to do that. And make sure you say please and thank you. If we were at school, I would cut this out for you and I would glue it down for you. But we're not at school, so you get to do that at home because it looks so much nicer. Look at that when it's on construction paper. So if you have it, use it. If you don't, you could color the background of this. But isn't he a cute abstract giraffe? I think he's adorable. All right, boys and girls, have a lot of fun making this. I miss you and I wish I could see your faces. So if you send me art, make sure I can see your face in it so I can remember what it's like to be back in the art room and not teaching from a computer, which is so weird. Okay, friends, have a great day. I miss you and I look forward to seeing what you're making.